Good morning, everyone. Let's read our book, History of the Filipino People by Agoncillo and Guerrero. Today is 30 December 2022. History of the Filipino People, Part of Reform and Revolution. Topic number 12 na tayo, the Malolos Republic. Basa. The Malolos Republic. Aguinaldo returned to the Philippines from Hong Kong with a plan to form a Filipino government. To show the capacity of the Filipinos for self-government, Aguinaldo established the Dictatorial Government in May, and a month later, the Revolutionary Government. Different departments were created to take charge of the multifarious duties of the new government. In September, the Congress was convoked at Malolos and Constitution prepared to guide the government in its progress toward republicanism. Diplomatic agents were sent abroad to work for the recognition of Philippine independence, but the United States, however, had decided to take over control of the Philippines, and in December 1898, the Treaty of Paris between Spain and the United States was concluded. The treaty gave the Philippines to the United States. Pagkatapos nating sakupin ng Spaniards ng almost 400 years, ito na naman ang United States. Even so, the Filipino leaders proclaimed the Philippine Republic in Malolos with Aguinaldo as president. The Dictatorial Government. In the wake of his military victories, Aguinaldo decided that it was time to establish a Filipino government. He had with him, when he arrived from Hong Kong, a draft of plan prepared by Mariano Ponce for the establishment of a revolutionary government. Consul Wildman, however, had advised Aguinaldo earlier to establish a dictatorial government, which later on could be the nucleus of a republican government similar to that of the United States. Probably because the critical times demanded a government with a strong executive, Ambrosio Rianzares Bautista, Aguinaldo's advisor, told him to form a dictatorial government. Consequently, Aguinaldo made known his intention of establishing such form of government when he announced in the morning of May 24, 1898 that he was assuming command of all the troops in the struggle for the attainment of our lofty aspirations, inaugurating a dictatorial government to be administered by decrees promulgated under my sole responsibility. Later in the day, he issued a decree formally establishing the dictatorial government. The decree nullified the orders issued under the authority of the Biak na Bato Republic and asserted that the dictatorial government was temporary in nature, that when peace shall have been re-established and our legitimate aspiration for unrestricted liberty attained, it may be modified by the nation in which rests the principle of authority. Treatment of enemy. In general, the Filipinos treated the Spanish prisoners with justice, but there were times when, because of hatred of the former masters, the Filipinos exceeded their enthusiasm and maltreated some Spaniards. Aguinaldo, wishing his people to follow the paths of righteousness and justice, appealed to them to treat the Spanish prisoners humanly. One of Aguinaldo's first acts as dictator was to issue a circular dated May 29, 1898, urging the people to stop the disgraceful treatment of the Spanish prisoners. He said, "It happens very often that the people and our soldiers, carried off by the triumph, forget all my previous advice in regard to the treatment which they ought to accord to the prisoners, and you will endeavor to stop this disgraceful conduct toward the surrendered enemy, and to punish those who may disobey your orders. To maintain peace, an order, and to suppress crimes, Aguinaldo issued another order on June 1 providing that all classes of crimes were to be tried by competent military tribunals. Again and again, he impressed upon the people the necessity of respecting the persons and property of the enemy. Declaration of Independence. With the government in operation, Aguinaldo thought that it was necessary to declare the independence of the Philippines. He believed that such a move would inspire the people to fight more eagerly against the Spaniards and at the same time lead the foreign countries to recognize the independence of the country. Mabini, who had by now been made Aguinaldo an official advisor, objected. He based his objection on the fact that it was more important to reorganize the government in such a manner as to convince the foreign powers of the competence and stability of the new government than to proclaim Philippine independence at such an early period. Aguinaldo, however, stood his ground and won. On June 5, Aguinaldo issued a decree setting aside June 12 as the day for the proclamation of Philippine independence. At the same time, he commissioned Julian Felipe, a composer from Cavite, to prepare a composition which would be played during the independence ceremonies. On June 11, Felipe showed Aguinaldo the draft of his musical composition which was entitled Marcha, Filipina, Magdalo. Aguinaldo and other revolutionary leaders, upon hearing the composition played on the piano, adopted it as the official march of the Philippines. Aguinaldo then requested Felipe to teach the music to the members of the band of San Francisco de Malabon so it could be played the next day. Felipe changed the title of the march to Marcha Nacional Filipina. Philippine National March. So, ang unang title pala niyan is Marcha Filipina Magdalo. And then, pinalitan ng title ng Marcha Nacional Filipina or Philippine National March. On June 12, between 4 and 5 in the afternoon, Aguinaldo, in the presence of a huge crowd, proclaimed the independence of the Philippines at Cavite, El Viejo, Kawit. For the first time, the Philippine national flag, made in Hong Kong by Mrs. Marcela Agoncillo, assisted by Lorenza Agoncillo and Delfina Herbosa, was officially hoisted, and the Philippine National March played in public. The Act of the Declaration of Independence was prepared by Ambrosio Rianzares Bautista, who also read it. A passage of the Declaration reminds one of another passage in the American Declaration of Independence. The Philippine Declaration was signed by 98 persons, among them an American Army officer who witnessed the proclamation. The Proclamation of Philippine Independence was, however, promulgated on August 1, when many towns had already been organized under the rules laid down by the Dictatorial Government. Apolinario Mabini. It was immediately before the proclamation of independence that a young man was brought before Aguinaldo as his advisor. He was Apolinario Mabini, born of very poor parents, Inocencio Mabini and Janecia Maranan, in Talaga, Tanawan, Batangas. Mabini studied in school in Tanawan, then conducted by a certain Simplicio Avellino. Much later, he transferred to a school conducted by the famous pedagogue Father Valerio Malabanan. He continued his studies at San Juan de Letran and the University of Santo Tomas. Guys, mga famous na yan, na university in Philippines yan, ngayong panahon natin. Pero nung araw, yung mahihirap, kayang-kaya mag-aral dyan. Ngayon, kung hindi ka scholar or mayaman, hindi ka basta-basta makakapasok sa mga matataas na university. Mga famous na university ba? Where he received his law degree in 1894. Ulitin ko lang ha. He continued his studies at San Juan de Letran and at the University of Santo Tomas, where he received his law degree in 1894. His dream to defend the poor led him to forsake the priesthood which his mother wanted him to take. Early in 1896, he contracted an illness, probably infantile paralysis, that led to the paralysis of his lower limbs. When the revolution broke out the same year, the Spanish authorities, suspecting that he was somehow involved in the disturbance, arrested him. The fact, however, that he could not move his lower limbs showed the Spaniards that they had made a mistake. He was released and sent to the San Juan de Dios Hospital. Mabini, it must be noted, was not entirely free from the nationalistic association, for he was a member of Rizal's La Liga Filipina and worked secretly for the introduction of reforms in the administration of the government. In 1898, vacationing in Los Baños, Aguinaldo sent for him. It took hundreds of men taking turns at carrying the hammock he was in to bring Mabini to Kawit. Aguinaldo, upon seeing Mabini's physical condition, thought that he must have made a mistake in calling for him to help him in his work. What could a man in such condition do to help him? But when Mabini spoke, Aguinaldo's doubts vanished. There was firmness in the sick man's voice, and Aguinaldo decided to make him his trusted advisor. From then on, it was Mabini who stood behind Aguinaldo. Envious enemies called him the Dark Chamber of the President, but his admirers considered him the brains of the revolution. So, hanggang dito na lang muna guys. Bukas na yung reorganization of local government. Bye everyone. God bless.